I have gotten another woman pregnant, so we're getting divorced. This really made things clear. Turns out I wasn't the one with fertility issues after all. No need for all those tests.
Out of the blue, my husband slapped the divorce papers in front of me. I was so shocked that I couldn't close my mouth. There he was, looking all smug at my reaction. But what truly floored me wasn't his affair. It was the fact that he got another woman conceived. My name is Susan. It's been 3 years since I married my current husband, John. Unfortunately, we haven't been blessed with children yet, despite both of us longing to start a family. Right after our wedding, we embarked on the journey to expand our family. But here we are, 3 years later, without any success. I've started to wonder if the issue might lie with me. John, we've been trying for 3 years without any luck in having a child. It's possible that one of us might be the reason. How about we get checked out?
A checkup? Are you implying that I might be the cause?
No, it's not about blaming anyone. It could just as well be me. But we won't know until we get tested.
If that's the case, you should go first. If the issue is with you, then you can just get treated.
But if it turns out I'm not the issue, it would be a hassle for you to go through this all over again. Please, let's go together. Reluctantly, John agreed to accompany me.
The issue isn't with me.
He continued to insist that it was not his fault. After undergoing various tests, we returned to the hospital a month later to hear the results. The doctor began by discussing my test outcomes.
Mrs. Susan, you have a condition that makes pregnancy difficult.
The diagnosis was endometriosis, a condition I've unknowingly lived with for some time. Although I had never been tested for it before, this diagnosis explained the challenges we faced in conceiving. I was devastated by the news, tears streaming down my face as the reality of my condition sank in. Just as the doctor attempted to offer some consolation, John abruptly stood up from his chair, anger and disbelief coloring his voice.
So it was you all along. I can't believe you doubted me.
He raised his voice, preparing to storm out of the examination room.
Please wait. We haven't discussed your test results yet, sir.
It's her issue, not mine. So I don't see why I should be involved.
Michael said dismissively before walking out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the doctor's words. I made a move to follow him, but the doctor stopped me, indicating that it was perhaps best to give Michael some space to process the news.
Let me give you your husband's test results.
To my surprise, it became clear that both John and I had faced obstacles on our path to parenthood. John's case was making our pregnancy even more difficult.
There is a common misconception that infertility is only a woman's problem, but in reality, about 40% of infertility cases are caused by the male partner. Even if you are diagnosed with a condition that complicates pregnancy, there are countless treatments available and many opportunities for success. It's important for both of you to have honest conversations and work through treatment together.
Dr. David explained. This new information suggested a collective struggle rather than a lonely burden, and it made my heart feel a little lighter and gave me a glimmer of hope that John and I would be able to get through this difficult road as a team. However, when I got home, John confronted me with harsh accusations rather than empathy or support.
I knew it was your fault.
Let's calm down and talk. Yet, he started lashing out, and my efforts to calm him down were in vain.
The doctor told us that you had an issue. That means there's nothing wrong with me. I made a mistake marrying a failure like you. As long as I'm with you, we will not bear children.
Our situation is not hopeless, and that the test results indicated that you two were facing fertility issues. I tried to tell him his result, but H was so upset that he wouldn't listen to me.
Difficult to conceive is almost as good as impossible. Don't fool yourself,
he retorted before storming off to his bedroom, leaving me in the wake of his disdain, the rift between us deepening with each harsh word. I followed him in search of some form of reconciliation, only to receive cruel orders.
I can't share a bed with someone who can't have children. You'll be sleeping somewhere else.
That moment marked the beginning of deep isolation in our marriage. Our conversations became sparse, and the comfort we shared in the bedroom became a distant memory. Despite the distance, my desire to become a mother drove me to pursue therapy on my own. I was acutely aware that it would be desirable to work with John on this task, but his unwavering silence since that night has made that impossible. Recently, his absences disguised as work or errands increased. I began to grapple with suspicions of his infidelity, which could neither be confirmed nor dismissed without evidence. One day, unexpectedly, John came home early. He slammed the paper on the table and said,
I got someone else pregnant. I'm getting a divorce.
John had divorce papers on his desk, silent evidence of a conclusion I wasn't expecting. At that moment, a wave of confusion washed over me. When John put on a sane expression and said this arrogantly, my mouth hung open and no words came out.
I am of no use to those who cannot have children. It is clear now. This problem has never existed for me. We have never needed such a test.
Not only was I shocked by his cruel declaration, but armed with knowledge of John's medical consequences, I realized he might be drowning in a sea of misunderstandings. But what's the point in defending a man whose mind has wandered? Therefore, I decided to face the reality of divorce, without even discussing his medical findings. John laid the blame squarely at my feet and unleashed a vitriol. Then I will divorce you. Considering you're cheating, I will demand alimony.
You're just after money. Considering I was also bound by a mistake like yours, I'm the one who should demand alimony.
What are you talking about? You also had. I tried to argue, but John ignored me.
Okay, if you want to settle the matter by paying alimony, that's fine.
And with that, our marriage dissolved. I informed John's parents of the reason for our divorce. I knew that John would never reach out to his parents. They were simple farmers whose generosity knew no bounds, often sending us fresh produce. It was important for me to express my gratitude and say goodbye. Surprisingly, the next day they showed up with John in tow to apologize. John may not have been sincere, but they insisted he show remorse. After we agreed to pay the full amount of alimony, my relationship with John was definitively severed. Instead of feeling sad, I felt a sense of relief. It's time to start a new chapter in your life and move forward. 5 years later, I was walking through a crowd of people in a busy shopping mall. A familiar figure approached in the crowd. It was John. Our paths crossed completely by chance. He had a child around 5 years old with him, and when he noticed me, a smug look spread across his face. I tried to run away, but he quickly grabbed me by the shoulders and stopped me from running away.
Hey, it's been a while. Meet my son. For someone like you who's been unable to have kids, the joy of a life filled with children's laughter will always be out of reach.
He boasted with a self-satisfied smirk. I felt that engaging with such a disrespectful person was a sheer waste of my time. So I decided to ignore him and started walking away in the opposite direction.
Come on, losing doesn't give you the right to ignore me. Don't set a bad example for my son.
His words made me pause, and as I turned to confront him, a sudden warmth enveloped my hand.
Mommy.
A young boy shouted as he ran up and grasped my hand firmly. This is my son. My ex-husband laughed mockingly.
What? Couldn't have your own, so you married a single father, or is he just a rental?
Just then, my current husband came up from behind.
May I know who you are?
I answered truthfully. My ex-husband.
Pleased to meet you.
My husband offered a brief, strained smile before extending a polite greeting. My ex, upon sizing up my husband, scornfully remarked,
Quite the choice, marrying someone who can't have children. You're an odd one. Is this child from your previous marriage? She's barren, you know, just using you. Better off leaving her sooner rather than later.
You seem to be mistaken. This child is ours, mine and Susan's.
My ex appeared shocked.
No need to lie. I'm well aware of her infertility.
It's no lie. This child is indeed ours. To validate my statement, I showed him our child's health record, proving beyond doubt our truth. Furthermore, I mentioned we were expecting another child, which clearly unsettled him.
Impossible. You couldn't have children when we were together.
Observing his confusion, I took the opportunity to clarify. As you might recall, it wasn't that I couldn't have children, but rather, it was challenging. My health improved a bit after undergoing treatment while we were married. I continued treatment for an extended period, and my health gradually recovered. After I divorced, I remarried a colleague about a year later. Despite significant improvements in my health, I had to come clean to my husband about the possibility that conceiving might not come easily for us. To my surprise, he reacted differently from my ex. He was incredibly supportive. He accompanied me to doctor's appointments and paid extra attention to our diet, all of which played a crucial role in us being able to conceive. I had almost given up hope of ever having children, thinking it was an impossible dream. But here we are, proving that having a hard time conceiving is entirely different from being infertile. I shared, which visibly shook my ex to his core. Then, I laid out the unvarnished truth. Remember when you refused to join me for the doctor's explanation? I tried to share the results with you several times after that, but you wouldn't listen. It might be late, but let me share the findings with you. The tests revealed that you have a lower fertility rate than I do.
That's impossible. How can that be when I already have a child?
At that moment, looking at his son, his body began to tremble.
Is he really mine?
The child, oblivious to the gravity of the conversation, remained silent. This isn't a conversation to have in front of a child. Can we put an end to this? We're very happy with our lives now. If you're happy too, isn't that enough? I proposed, attempting to leave. Just then, the woman who must be his current wife approached.
Hey, is this child really mine? What's the truth?
He demanded, shaking the woman by the shoulders. She was visibly disturbed.
Yes, he is.
Should we do a DNA test then?
Calm down. We've been together for 5 years. He's your child. Maybe it was just the right timing, despite the difficulties. I tried to console, but my ex was inconsolable. Forgetting his surroundings, he lashed out in frustration.
But we haven't had another child since then. Even though we underwent treatment, you're already expecting your second. Something's not right. It doesn't add up.
Overcome with emotion, he broke down in tears. His son, witnessing his father's breakdown, was scared. I wanted no further part in this, not wishing to distress my current husband and son, so I decided to leave. As I was walking away, my ex stood up and claimed,
You've destroyed the happiness I thought I had in my family.
He advanced towards me. Frightened, I clutched my son and was about to flee when I heard the dull voice of my ex-husband, John, behind me. My husband, Michael, using his black belt judo skills, tackled John to the ground with ease.
Isn't it absurd to blame my wife? You're the one who betrayed her. I understand why she's upset, but you have no right to be angry.
Michael said calmly, his voice steady and commanding. John was speechless, collapsing onto the floor, unable to muster a response.
Why has it come to this?
It's because you betrayed me, but thanks to that, I have my current happiness, for which I'm grateful.
This child isn't mine.
You made that choice, so take care of that child. The child is innocent, I told him, my voice firm yet empathetic, stressing the importance of responsibility. We left the scene, not looking back, even as the sounds of John and his wife, Elizabeth, arguing echoed behind us, a testament to the unresolved issues they faced. Subsequently, John tried to contact me several times. One day, I accidentally answered the phone.
I divorced Elizabeth. A DNA test confirmed the child isn't mine. You already have a child, but I can love them as my own, even if they're not biologically mine. Plus, having another child and becoming a family of 5 sounds nice. I recently went for fertility test again. It turns out it's not impossible, just difficult. So let's undergo treatment together and try for a child.
Those were the words I needed to hear 5 years ago, not now. I'm happy with my life as it is. I will never betray my family for someone like you.
I'm coming to your house right now. I saw you returning from the mall the other day, so I know where you live.
He threatened me. I immediately hung up and reported the threat to the police. True to his word, John showed up at my home, pounding on the front door, but was swiftly taken away by the police. A swift end to his menacing approach. Days later, an apology came from my former in-laws, Robert and John, who visited our home.
Why should I apologize? I'm suffering from infertility, and she's happy. That's unfair.
John's refusal to apologize was evident, his voice filled with indignation and self-pity. However, Robert forced John to the ground, making him apologize, a gesture of deep remorse for the trouble caused.
Our son has caused you trouble twice, and for that, we are deeply sorry. We will ensure he doesn't bother you and your family again.
Robert sincerely apologized, his words reflecting a commitment to righting the wrongs. Further conversation revealed that John would now be helping with the family's agricultural business. It's a significant shift from his urban life, marking a return to his roots, which he had once eschewed.
Please, if we could start over, I wouldn't have to leave the city.
John begged, desperate to avoid the life he had once left behind.
Never bother Susan. If this happens again, I will never forgive you.
Robert yelled at John, and they both left. Since then, my family has lived happily, with the addition of a new member on the horizon, enriching our lives and bringing us closer as we prepare to welcome a fourth member, embracing our future together with love and unity.